Power Chat TV. This is the next chapter for the FDC UK. We have the president here. I would like him to give a brief introduction of himself and then we'll take it from there.
Well, my name is Kizza Besigye. Was leader of FDC, founding leader from 2005, 2012 when I stepped down. But I have, as you know, been contesting for the office of president in Uganda, the last time of which was in February this year.
So, ladies and gentlemen, as you had, he's been contesting for the presidential of Uganda candidate. I mean, I've just spoke to one of your foreign ministers, and I'm not going to bore you with the nitty-gritty of the conversation. But what I'm going to ask you is this: the next chapter in the UK, what are we expecting, and what do you want the diaspora to contribute to your chapter in the UK?
Well, the diaspora is an integral part of our community. Very important part of our community because they straddle both Uganda and the international communities in which they live. And to that extent, they are our ambassadors. They give information to the governments where they are, to the communities where they are, and influence opinion in the governments. But also they participate in the political processes at home by directly participating and giving ideas in whatever we are doing, by contributing resources to the activities that we do. So they are an integral part of our struggle.
Fantastic. You've actually touched on one of your foreign minister, Mr. Paul. What he was telling me, he was saying that basically there's funding the aid to help Uganda in order for for us to stop corruption. So I asked him, does Uganda really need aid, or does your party need aid in order for them to continue their work within the Ugandan diaspora?
Well, what we need from Ugandans is not aid. It is their due support for the processes that we are undertaking. It is in their own interest. It is for their own benefit. So it's not aid that we are looking for from them. And it is just that they are living outside, but they participate in every sense just the same way as our people at home. In fact, one of the struggles we're having is to make sure that our people who live outside have their vote count, that they vote and that their votes count, because they are part and parcel of our community, and an influential one at that.
That's quite interesting, because a young lady like me who has been here over 30 years, I mean, the only president I know is Mr. Yoweri Museveni. So what difference are you going to make in the community to make people like me vote for you? Real quickly.
Well, the critical thing is what transformation we all need for our country. Because although you've been here for 30 years, you have no voice in what has been going on. And because you have no voice, the government is not accountable. That's why we have unprecedented corruption in our community, which we must end by having accountable governments, so that our resources are invested in our people, and we transform the country by investing in our people, having good health care, education, and making sure we have a good infrastructure, and that productivity in our country goes up. These are the critical changes that our country needs.
Thank you very much for your time, and it's nice to see you as a role model. Thank you.
That an event of this nature cannot be organized in a peaceful manner the way we are gathered here this afternoon in Uganda. As Ugandans in the diaspora who have got our country at heart, who love our country, we very closely and passionately follow the events as they unfold in our country. We are a key stakeholder in our country. We support our country in a variety of ways. And I don't need to remind you that we are the biggest contributor to the foreign exchange earning of the Republic of Uganda. So we have got a big share. We are a very important shareholder in the company called Uganda Limited. So we cannot be dismissed, and our views cannot be dismissed. And that's why this event this afternoon is a landmark event that we need to utilize and send a clear and loud message to the imposter government, the dictatorship in the Republic of Uganda, that we have unanimously decided to recognize Dr. Kizza Besigye as the legitimately elected President of the Republic of Uganda.
Thick and thin to be with us on this day. You are welcome, Mr. President. As you have heard, this chapter has been active. Some people may not have heard about it, but we have been trying very hard to work with people back home to bring some semblance of humanity to our country. We love our country so much that we just can't give it away to people who want to destroy it. And as you have heard, as you know, we invest a lot, both in personal resources and money, and our own efforts, human efforts, to make Uganda a better country. We need, as MC has said, to make it a better country for generations to come, not for ourselves. I think our life is gone, or our time is almost expired, but we need to make it for our generations to come. And hence, I call upon you to put in a lot of effort to make sure that we remain active and support Dr. Kizza Besigye as our beacon and hope. I personally didn't go to the bush to fight, but some of those who went to the bush, like Dr. Kizza Besigye, must be feeling extremely betrayed by what is happening now. And I think that is the reason he is fighting on, because the revolution has not really been ended. Having said that, I would like to tell you that the chapter here has been reasonably active, and you may recall we had a demonstration after the botched elections in February. We held a demonstration at Trafalgar House, Uganda House on Trafalgar Square, and delivered a petition to the British Prime Minister at number 10 Downing Street. We also raised funds to support the activities of the party back home, and in particular for Dr. Kizza Besigye's elections. Now, those efforts have been sustained by a few of us, and I would like to invite you to be members of the party, really. I would like to tell you that this meeting today, some of you may have heard about, those who are old enough like myself, you may have heard about the Moshi Conference. Anybody Moshi Conference? Yeah. This could be our Moshi Conference. We are going to win power in Uganda soon, and I want you, those who are here, to come with evidence that you have been at the Moshi Conference. The Moshi Conference was organized when Amin was being overthrown, for those who don't know, and people were jostling for positions afterwards because they attended the Moshi Conference when they were in government. So I don't want you to come and say, hey, doctor, I was there when you were talking. Do you remember me? I want you to go with a party card. They are now on sale at only £10. You can buy it now, you can pay cash now, or pledge to get it later. We don't have them printed because we need to print your name on it. So they are not ready, but if you want, you can list yourself, pay a tenner, and you'll get your card in good time. Number two, you need to go with a memento to know that if you don't want a card, you don't want to be a member, that's fine. But if you want to be remembered, we have t-shirts in various sizes outside there, party t-shirts in various sizes out there. So if you pick one, keep it in your bag, keep it in your box or under your mattress, and when the time comes, you bring it to me, you say, "Doctor, I bought this when we were in London." So don't be shy, don't be coy about this. This is a war effort. We are really fighting a dictator. President Museveni has made our country a terrible place. I don't need to tell you, you read about it every day, you hear about it, and you hear him say horrible things in support of his illegitimacy. We are not going to give up, and we are not going to give in. We shall fight him and fight him until he leaves. So I would like to again appeal to you to give us support. The chapter has been struggling with numbers, recruitment numbers, party membership, and I would like you to enlist your name so that we can contact you at a time like this. We intend to make this a similar thing, an annual event. So every August bank holiday, we may hold something like this in future. So don't miss out. Enlist yourself. You don't need to be a member, but enlist yourself, and we can contact you when the time comes. On that note, I'd like to hand over to MC, and we continue with our program. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Dixon, for that eloquent introduction. Mr. President, Your Excellency, the First Lady, the Chairperson of FDC UK, we're so excited to have you in London. A few months ago, we didn't know that we could have you in London anytime sooner, because every time we watched what was going on, we were really, really down and didn't think that we'll see you anytime sooner. But God is great, God is wonderful, that His mercy has managed to bring you down here. Your Excellency, I'm glad to be speaking on behalf of the young people, the youth, because the youth are the people whose future is being played around with. Our parents played around with our future. That's why we've lost a generation. They were not serious about this man when he came into power. They did not recognize the kind of monster they were playing with. And now they recognize that, but it's a bit too late for our own future. So a generation has been wiped out. A generation has lost. There's no education, there's no jobs for the young people. There's nothing going on. A full generation has just been wiped out. Your Excellency, I know that once you take over, you have to start. You've got a great deal, a great job to get us back on track. Your Excellency, when I have never been in politics, and I've never wanted to be in politics of Uganda, simply because there's a lot of lack of trust in the circles in Uganda. There's a lot going on, and you cannot trust anybody. But Your Excellency, you've been an inspiration to a lot of young people, that we've now finally found someone that we can trust and say, this is the person who's going to lead us. We know that you've been to the mountaintop and back. You've seen the promised land, and you're telling us where the promised land is, and we are willing to follow you, Your Excellency, as the youth. to wherever you take us. For the last 10, 15 years, I've been watching the politics of Uganda, and I've been on the sidelines, just not getting involved because I thought I don't need to be involved. It's nothing to do with me. It's not my business. Someone else will mop up, will clean up everything, you know. But recently I realized that this is my future. I want my kids to be able to go back home and settle home in a place where they feel it's home. At this moment in time, that's not a risk I can take to send my kids to such a country which has been turned upside down by a dictatorship. When you look, the diaspora contribute a lot towards this, towards Uganda, and we have a stake in Uganda, so we have a very, very important role to play in the politics of the country. Going back to saying I did not trust anybody, that's the reason why I stayed out of politics until recently, when I saw Dr. Kizza Besigye being treated. I know that this has reached the hearts of so many people, and a lot of people have come out in support. It's actually counterproductive to the dictatorship. Whenever the memories I have that are imprinted on my head is the memories of the black van. Your Excellency, that black van, even when I see a black van anywhere, I still got that picture of you being bundled in that black van. I actually saw a white journalist getting to a point where he wanted to punch a police officer just because of what was going on. But a lot of Ugandans have been patient. We have been patient enough. We have been patient, we have waited and given a dictator a chance. We've given him chance after chance, but it shows that the dictatorship is determined to go out with anything he can go out with. He will take anybody with him, if that means taking anybody with him. I know there might be some agents in here thinking that this is a joke, but this is not a joke. We have started a revolution that's going to change Uganda. This revolution is going to be headed by young people, the people whose future is being played around with. The dictator is doing everything to hold on to power so that he can get his son in and his brothers and sisters into this. I mean, this is not family rule. It's not a family rule. It's not a monarchy. This is a country that belongs to everyone. Your Excellency, you have taught me that a man cannot ride you once you stand straight. A man can only ride you once you've got your back bent. And we Ugandans have had our backs bent for so many years. Now is the time to get our backs straight. And we don't accept the dictatorship riding us again. I'm calling upon all Ugandans in the diaspora that the revolution has started. We will be moving around to reach every corner. And we will be taking our country back, village by village. We need to get our country back. The country has been turned into, the healthcare system is non-existent. The education system is dead. It's being led by someone who has no qualification to be a minister of education. This goes on to show the kind of leadership that we have in the country. It's now every important position is being led by someone who cannot run that particular position. What kind of country is that? That's not the country I want to live in. That's not the country I signed for. People are launching rockets to go in the sky. We are launching rockets. This is not the type of country we want to be in. We know that Your Excellency, you've been to the mountaintop and you've come back And you've told us there's still a promised land in Uganda, and that promised land is what we're going to push. We'll be behind you at every level. I know that there's a lot of people who, whenever I go to speak to them, they're saying, go slow. If people say that on Hitler, we would have been in the same position. I don't think you would have been here today. If we said go slow because Hitler's killing everyone, you wouldn't have been here. But we know that the dictatorship has reached a critical stage now. We know that all the dictators in history, when they reach this stage, you know that they are on their way out. We've seen that with Benito Mussolini. We've seen that with General Franco. We've seen it with Adolf Hitler. We've seen it recently with Saddam Hussein. And these are signs of a dictatorship. When they know they're out, they always walk around in military attires. They always walk around brandishing a gun because they find solace in a gun. But I thank you, Your Excellency, that you have chosen a path of non-violence. That is the only path that will bring back Uganda to a position where we need it. The position of non-violence, the non-violent struggle makes it a country for all. Everyone participates. But a position for violence where people claim legitimacy and people claim that they've got, they fought. I mean, I had a general who is the Inspector General of Police saying, I fought, I can't be taken to court. So what kind of nonsense is this? I mean, why is anybody thinking that they're above the law? There's nobody above the law. The Constitution says nobody's above the law. And we need to take our country back. We need to take our country village by village. Thank you very much, Vijay.
I'm here together with people of Northern Uganda in solidarity with Dr. Kizza Besigye. As one people and one Uganda, that is when we will remove the dictator in Uganda. So we are going to have to say Uganda, Uganda, Uganda. We must be Ugandan first. Then we will move ahead and remove the dictator. The position where I stand is that from day one, we noticed that Museveni is a dictator, a murderer, and a killer. When he went up north, straight away he went to kill people. He killed people because he wanted to grab land. He killed people because he wanted to dehumanize them. He killed people because he wanted to destroy the population. He brought war, he brought diseases. And he took Ugandan sons to go and use them to kill people and dispose them. He used people's children as disposable army. How many children in Uganda has been taken to so many wars, and where are they? Who is accountable to them? This is the question that Ugandans must ask. So in terms of what is in Uganda, we think is a military dictatorship, and we must treat it as such. That is it. That means that we have to identify the problem. The government in Uganda is a military dictator. And is ruling, Museveni has been ruling as a military dictator, using the army, using security to control the people. That means there is no voice, there can never be free election. There is sham election, and people are oppressed every single day. You cannot say anything that you don't like about the government. You cannot talk about education, which is poor. You cannot talk about human rights abuse. You cannot talk about the police who are beating people in the street. Because he is using security apparatus to oppress the people. That is an oppressive government that cannot hold election. In my view, that it's a mistake for us to allow him to make as if he's making an election. Because we know he has got all the instruments which does not allow you to choose freely, or to feel that you can go and choose someone that you want. So I'm going to be very brief, that all Ugandans, we need to get on board and let us consult every corner of the country. I know that there have been party politics in Uganda, and probably by now there are far too many to make a decision about what we need to do. There is the UPC, the DP, and all the rest of it. I think at this moment, let's put our colors in our pocket. Let's come out as Ugandans. Put our colors in our pocket. And let's hold this flag. So each and every one must look at one problem. Dictator Museveni has got to go. And what the message we are sending to him is that get out now and go wherever you're going. Because if you don't go, we will come. Enough is enough. So to conclude, I think we need to build and consult our community because they know who among them is a good leader and a good person, an honest person who is not going to be corrupt, who can lead the group. So we get people from the different regions who will form a government of national unity together with Dr. Kizza Besigye. All of us have got to form, we need to form a government of national unity, that everyone can talk about their problem, can bring their problem up, and it can be solved according to the way it has to be solved. That is where I'm standing here. So I'm not going to take long. I want us to think about working as Ugandans first. Then you can organize within your political parties. But we must work as Ugandan so that we are more effective to remove Dictator Museveni. Thank you.
Your Excellency, Dr. Kizza Besigye, the First Lady, the Chairman FDC UK chapter, all compatriots, I take this opportunity to welcome the People's President of the Republic of Uganda. Much has been said. I would like to emphasize this, that in FDC, we are working together. We've been working together since 2006 elections. All our support, we are not in a coalition, but we are in a cooperation. This is why we've been coming all along all these years, developing ideas until we've come, until Liberal Democratic Transparency LDT party have come up together with FDC and other organizations to form Uganda People's Democratic Alliance, an umbrella that is driving towards, as the previous speaker said, one day we are going to invite you for a Moshi conference philosophy, a real one for Uganda. The most important thing here is, as the slogan for FDC, one Uganda, one people, unity is very important. We are all agreed, as Madam Apira said, for the moment in time we are putting all our colors in the pocket and we are holding this flag under the commandership of His Excellency Kano Besigye. In
Kodeyo, Mulembe, Agandi, Ombito Katori, Hamjambo. It pains my heart when I have to speak to all of us in English. We must one day talk about a national language, an African language we call our own, as all of us Ugandans. It's not good to talk in this Muzungu. We can't backbite them. If there's a Muzungu here, he hears everything. We have to have our own African language. So, housekeeping first. I want to start by thanking you all so much for coming out of your homes, your work, to welcome Dr. Kizza Besigye. Thank you for coming. This man must not ever feel he's fighting alone. So thank you for coming. Secondly, I want, on his behalf and on my own behalf, to thank the men and women who worked flat out to organize this event. I know how hard you worked. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. Then also, I want, as a matter of housekeeping, to say this, that there have been many speakers and they've excited us and they've motivated us, but some comments that were made concerning other countries, neighboring countries, whether Rwanda or Congo or another, we want to take a distance from them. We are concentrating on fighting our war in Uganda. And we know there are problems with other countries also. We wish them well in their struggles, but we don't interfere. Ours is to fight our own battle in Uganda, sort it out, and then live peacefully with our neighbors. My role here is to introduce to you my partner and my friend. Many times, people ask me, everywhere I go, that it must be so painful. It's always the way people greet me. This must be hard on you. It's tough, Winnie. How does he cope? It's like all the time people are sympathizing. People are almost, it's like mfididwa. All the time people are telling me how sorry they are. And how do we cope? Well, I'm going to tell you something. I ask back the question. When they say this to me, I say, what's the alternative? That's what I ask. I say, what's the alternative? Let's consider. Today, just today, by the end of today, in Uganda, in our beloved country, 17 women will die giving childbirth. Every single day until the year ends. Sad. But for our dear president, he will fly his daughter off to Germany to give birth at a cost of not less than $150,000. One woman will give birth safely because she's his daughter, but 17 will die every day in the villages because there's no health care. Can we accept that? So when you say, why do you take all this pain? I still ask about the alternative, and I say, the alternative, should we accept that a little boy like I saw in Karamoja 2 weeks ago, I was in Kotido, 13-year-old, I found herding goats, I stopped, I took his picture, I asked him, why are you not in a classroom? And he said, my mother can't buy the books. They sent me away. That is one little boy in Karamoja. But in the same week I was in Kampala, I got the news that this NRM-packed parliament, the dictator had given each of them a free gift of 150 million shillings on top of their fat salaries. That is it. The little boy can't go to the classroom, but the NRM whole group and get a free gift of 150 million each, plus that salary, untaxed. That is the choice. So when you say we don't, what's the alternative? I think of, yesterday I met a woman called Patience. She told me she has a sister who got 3 A's at A level, first class degree from Makerere, can't get a job, but school dropouts who never got through secondary school are sitting in some offices as diplomats of Uganda. That's the alternative. That's the alternative we are supposed to accept. So then, I think of a woman, an ordinary woman in the village digging every day, the whole year round with a hoe, just to get her food on that land. And all this land that is now being grabbed that my sister talked about. I think of this woman who appeared in the newspapers recently, before Parliament, who brought a sack of 10 billion shillings to buy public land. And they asked her, where did you get 10 billion? I sold goats. She's taking public land. Small farmers are being pushed off their land. That's the alternative. Is that an acceptable alternative? So then, I think of a secondary school teacher like I see in my town there in Barara, who now wear slippers in the classroom, who are supposed to teach children, but whose own children can't be in secondary school because they can't afford. Can you imagine? You are a secondary school teacher to teach other people's children, but you can't pay fees for your own, so yours are sitting at home. Is that an acceptable alternative? It's not. I ask myself then, what's the alternative? For our children to be taken, every young boy or girl in that army called UPDF is the son and daughter of someone, a woman and a man. But those children of ours, when I think of the thousands of them who've been taken to bushes, to be used to plunder, to loot, like they did in Congo, with no authority of the parliament. I was sitting in parliament, I challenged, I asked the president, where did you get authority to deploy our army, our children in Congo? And he took me to prison for challenging him. But he took them, no authority. They died there. They fought with Rwandans, whom they went together as allies. Our children died there in the bushes. Others are in Sudan, South Sudan, without permission of parliament. He just takes people's children to die. No accountability, none. Our children being taken to fight foreign wars that have not been approved by parliament. That's the alternative. So when I think of all these, one word comes to mind. It is injustice. Injustice. So when people ask me, how does Besigye cope? I tell them, the alternative is to accept injustice. And we can't. We can't accept injustice and that kind of humiliation. It's unacceptable. So my friends, there is no choice. There's only one choice. It is to take a stand. This man takes a stand. And when you take a stand, once you take a stand, when you say, you don't go back. You don't go back. You stay there. You take the blows. You take them. So, I'm married to a man who's willing to stand up and be accountable for his actions, and to stand up for what he believes in and take the knocks. I'm proud of him. He stands up to injustice, and he doesn't count the cost. You see, those who are meting out injustice to Ugandans, they are bullies. They only survive because they threaten. They scare you, and you run. I heard you here saying, the spies are here, the spies are here. I even saw you pointing to one corner. All that is threats. They are bullies and they are cowards. They are cowards. Chasing you and you run, he has power. But when you stop and take a stand, he stops. He stops too. He's a coward. So you must look at a bully in the eye and take a stand. When you take a stand, the power shifts. It shifts back to you. So my friends, we should take a stand. Each one of us, for our country, for our dignity. To be human means not to accept injustice. When every time you accept injustice, you accept to be dehumanized. Don't accept it. There's no alternative. We take a stand. We take the blows. So, for this man, I don't pity him. I don't sympathize with him. I don't even empathize with him. I stand by him. I take a stand. I take a stand. We've been taking this stand for many years, more than 30 years. In fact, we first met in the bushes, and he was a young commander. He's the one who treated them and got them out of the bush, even though they don't remember. And we've been taking a stand, and all those blows are badges of honor. We're proud. We're proud. So today, this man I'm going to introduce to you is indeed, as somebody said, a symbol of the aspirations of Ugandans for a true and just and democratic society. He's a leader. He's leading that struggle. It's not about the name FDC. I agree with you. It's about a people's movement. I'm using that word and reclaiming it back. A movement to claim back our power and have a just society. And he's leading that. He's a symbol. He's a symbol of what we want. The fact that he's a prisoner, he's still a prisoner, you know. He's out on bail. He's facing the charge of treason, capital offense. If he should lose it, he's supposed to die by hanging. That is the crime he's facing. But we are proud. We'll fight it off. We fought it off before, remember? He was charged not just with treason, he was also charged with terrorism, he was charged with the filthy crime of rape, and all of them were dismissed by the courts. We've been there before. That's how a bully works. He was afraid of contesting, and he threw all that rubbish at him. And he still won, and the other guy cheated. So once again, we'll be through those courts. But as a prisoner, my point is this. He symbolizes the fact that all of us in Uganda today are held prisoner by a dictator. We are prisoners. We have to work for our liberation through defiance. We are going to defy peacefully, assertively, forcefully. I underline, defy forcefully, because we cannot accept to be ruled illegitimately. So we must defy. And defiance is justified. It's constitutional. It is legal. We have a right to withhold our consent to be governed by someone who cheated. So, Mr. Museveni says that this Sanja hakuna mchezo. Well, I say back, this time hakuna mchezo. We will defy. We will defy. Democratically, we will defy. So it is indeed, for me, my honor and my privilege to invite my partner for many years, the man I'm proud of, the man who's leading us, the man who will take the knocks but lead us and get us out of this unjust situation. Dr. Kizza Besigye, please join me to invite him.
Maybe I too should first greet you
in the name of one Uganda,
one people,
one people,
one Uganda.
Asante sana. Master of ceremonies, all of you organized. She was there before me. She was in parliament before me. She was in prison before me. In fact, when I was in exile in South Africa after 2001, part of the reason indeed she's also out here doing cheyo is that she was, for that short time I was away in prison 7 times. And we happened to have been having a young kid then. Anselm was 2 years. And so she would be dragged away to the prisons, leaving him behind, which was quite traumatic. So I think it's from her that I have learned some of the things that I think one cannot have a strong and more reliable partner in this kind of struggle. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to, first of all, thank immensely the people who are living out here, who are working in difficult circumstances, but who have kept their hearts, souls, and minds back home and have continued doing everything that they can to make sure that their country is a better country. Thank you very much, all of you, for that strong commitment to your country. Thank you. I'd like to, because we lived in different nationalities before the advent of colonialism, as Uganda, as the entity we are today, we collectively lost our power to the British Crown. We collectively lost our power to the British Crown by force of arms. We did not have any guns when the British came with gunpowder and fired. All of us surrendered. Not without a fight, as you know. Some of our ancestors put up a very stiff resistance, but at the end of the day, we were defeated and we lost power, we lost citizenship. We ceased to be citizens of our villages, we became subjects of the Queen of England. That situation has not changed up to today. We are still subjects of those who succeeded the control of the guns that took away the power from us. That is why in our country, no leader has ever handed over power peacefully to another leader. The mediation of how power changes is the gun, because that's where the power is resident. To take away the power from these guns, you use guns and take away power. But that means the subjects remain where? Where they were, as subjects of those who have the guns. And you know, therefore, the control of our national institutions, the control of the country, the control of resources is in the hands of those very few who control those guns. I and my dear wife, when we went to the bush, we were of the view that there could be good guns and bad guns. And that let's use the good guns to take out the bad guns. And the good guns would return power back to the people. As we have all realized, we were wrong. Why? Because first of all, you see, the control of guns is through a disciplined system. Is through a disciplined system of orders. Orders come from above. So even when you hear these people who are beating our people in the streets, they say, but we were under orders. And it is true. Orders come from above. And when orders come from above, it means that at the end of the day, therefore, power controlled by the guns is in the hands of one person at the pinnacle of that structure. Because that's where orders come from. They don't go up. They come from above, and everybody is under obligation to implement those orders. But secondly, during war, the civil institutions, communities are even further weakened because they are displaced, their means of livelihood is further undermined, the social institutions break down, the clan systems, that's what has happened. In fact, in Acholi now, there is a very big problem of community, traditional institutions which have broken down. And so, actually, war further disempowers the ordinary people who were already powerless. It further disempowers them. So by the time the war has ended, you have a small group of people who are very powerful and a community which is very weak, very disempowered. So this community cannot demand, cannot check those powerful few who have the guns. And that's what happens. But also, although in the war, some of us indeed ideologically thought that there are good guns and bad guns, quite often, most of the people who are fighting are not fighting because they want to have a better order. They are fighting because they have lost out in the present order. And therefore want to gain the same advantage of those who have power today. And when we were in the bush, this was very, very clear to me. Sitting on the fire at night with some of our officers, you would hear the young officers saying, if we arrive, I really want to drive that vehicle. which the other man was driving. So he's building images. They are already building images in their minds of where they want to be. Even now, when we are fighting on the streets, recently there is a man, an old man, friend of mine. He came to me and said, it seems things now are working out. He said, yes. He says, when we get there, please don't forget me. I said, no, obviously I can't forget. He said, the only one thing I want to be is the market master of Owino. This has intrigued me very much, that somebody's ambition is to be the market master of Owino. But he's already, he knows what he will do with that. So even now, you know, the young activists, even now whom we have, some of them are saying, hey, let's fight it. Those malls they are building, you know, they'll be ours also, one of reason. So many of the people whom you find are in the struggle are not looking for qualitative difference within the governance. They are fighting because they have been eliminated and they want to be where the other ones are. And so, during the war, by the time the war ends, like ours did, you have warlords whose ambition is now to be that which they were dreaming. So even if actually the top commander where the orders come from was a well-intentioned person, he's going to have a lot of resistance from these warlords, who are the ones that actually execute the whole process of war, who are in the trenches, who are now saying, so you think we fought for nothing, you know? And indeed, after revolutions, sometimes you hear coups and counter-revolutions. This is what is happening because people's ambitions are not being met. So the trouble we have had is that power is in a few hands, and the change of that power has not helped to democratize it. It has remained in those few hands. And as I have said, the countries serve those who have power. So those who have power, yes, can take their daughters to Germany to deliver their children safely. If you have no power, do nothing. Those who have power can take away your money, and you know they have taken it away, and you have nothing to do. Because it's not that these people who are robbing, that we don't know who has taken the money. The other week there was a report on the money that has been stolen from roads, which was even a government report. 4 trillion, which has been stolen from the roads alone. So, money, resources, whatever goes to those with power. Why? Because they control the institutions, all the institutions of state. They control all the institutions of state. They control all decision-making in the country. They control decision-making, they control... Don't think you have a parliament, that Uganda parliament is a parliament of Uganda, of the people of Uganda, is it? No. That is why, indeed, what Winnie was talking about, they can now, in spite of the crisis that is in the country, they are arguing as to whether each MP should be given 150 million to buy a private car. Free money, and saying this is not enough. You know, I saw one MP who was recently, yes, Katemba, you know. He was recently elected, thanks to the effort of some of us. You know, he was recently elected. Now I saw him saying that let those voters, if they think we cannot have cars, let them go and hang themselves. You know? Yes, on a public speech. I'm sure you have seen it all over the place. They can hang themselves. You know? So, all these members of parliament, apart from those few, indeed like Katorbo was elected with nothing, because he's in an urban constituency and urban people are more alert and they struggle to cause change more effectively than those in the rural. The others get those seats bought in the first place. To win a member seat in parliament, you need at least 300 million. And you don't just need money, you also need the support of those with kiboko and the electoral commission and everything, else. So actually, seats are procured by the dictator himself. He's the one who gives people seats. He cannot give them seats so that they go to serve the people. He gives them seats so that they go to serve him. And that's why, you can find a parliament, like the 9th parliament, the one which just ended. One time they made resolutions on oil. Made very important resolutions in parliament, which the dictator did not agree with. The next day they were all put on buses and taken to Changwanzi. Changwanzi is some kind of an ideological school where NRM ideological school. They were all taken there. When they are taken there, they are put in military uniform. All of them are made to put on military uniform. Museveni comes in with his general's beeps, and he's carrying his gun, and everybody is saluting the general. And they make them run around and later they bring them back to parliament and they changed all the resolutions they had made the previous week. All of them turned them around. So this is not a people's parliament. It is a Museveni parliament. The police cannot be a people's, and that's why they are beating the people without any question. People run away from the police, not to the police. When they see the police, they run away, bow, say that they have come. So the institutions, the electoral commission, do we have a people's electoral commission? No. It's a walking stick of Mr. Museveni. The courts. So all institutions serve those who have power. Institutions serve who have power. Who has power is now the one at the head of those guys. It's the one the institutions serve. Even, unfortunately, the good people who are there, they grudgingly serve the one with the power. Even the good people, even our supporters, say, what can we do, my friend? I'm just doing my job. They tell me whenever I'm going to the prisons, say, you come on, we support you, but we have to put some portion, some ugali, some food on the table. So don't worry, you are our president. Go inside. That's what happens. So we have institutions. So once you have this situation, the institution's decision making is by those few who have the guns. Our mission, therefore, is not just to remove Mr. Museveni and his guns. How we remove him must also remove that system of the control of our country by guns. And I've told you that, yes, if we had wanted to use guns to fight Museveni, it's not difficult. I can tell you quite openly that the greatest majority of people in the forces are actually with us. This is now, fortunately, no longer something that is debatable. In the last election, I think they didn't worry about where the soldiers were. In the last elections, they changed the results in other places, but actually in the polling stations where military police encampments were, they were not changed and we won convincingly. And of course, getting guns, we can't all get guns. Mr. Museveni started a war with 20 guns and won because it's not the guns, it's the people. So you can use guns by support of the people and win. If we wanted to take that course, we could take it. And win. And we could win, yes. The only trouble is that we would win and replace Museveni with a new set of guns and the same problem. You know, many people sometimes ask me, especially at home, assure us that you will be different from Museveni. How sure are we? We have had so many lies from politicians. You know, you said something today, tomorrow, you change your word. And it is true, one of our politicians, he was my MP. Now in the last election, happily he was removed from Rukunji. You know, he also distributed a lot of money at some election and was elected. After he was elected, and he made a lot of promises. After he was elected, he of course did not do anything. So they confronted him and said, but you were... So this MP, when he was confronted as to why he was not implementing his program, he said, you know, and I think for most of you may not appreciate it. When you are making beer from bananas, there is a lot of work squeezing juice out of the bananas, you know, manually squeeze juice until it comes out of bananas, then you ferment it and get beer, get wine. Now, at the time of squeezing bananas, not many people are anxious to come. And the language, the one who is making the pombe uses to attract people, you know, he talks very well. Oh, come and help, please. You know, this is, you are always my friend, my good neighbor, come on. But when he is now at the time of, you know, collecting the beer, the language. So this MP was saying like that. And yeah, so really, you know, now another thing maybe before I go there is the role of elections. Because if the dictator controls all these institutions, controls decision making, do you really think that you are going to go to an election normally, go and campaign, persuade people, they come and cast their ballot papers, then they are counted, then you are announced that you have defeated a dictator? Is that a realistic expectation? That people, you know, that the dictator organizes an election to remove him? Is this a realistic expectation? It's not. It's not. So, even when we go to the elections, you must understand what it is that we go to do in those elections. Because again, it has been one of the questions. If you know that the elections are going to be stolen, why are you wasting our time? Why are you wasting resources going into an election when you know? You see, so to change this control, we are going to need three things. The first thing is that the majority of the people whom we want to have the power must themselves know that they have no power, because many of our people even don't know that they have no power and that it's a problem. Some of, you know, when slavery was being abolished, slave trade was being abolished, some of the people who were domestic slaves resisted. Said, why are you disturbing us? We have no problem with it. We have no problem with our masters. We are being treated well. Please don't. And this is the thing. Our people have lived without power for generations now. People actually don't appreciate that they don't have power and the consequences of it. So, and they think that indeed a leader is their master. You see them kneeling before the leader, kneeling and clapping, and he gives them something. Wangara, live forever, because he has given them something of their own. They don't understand the dynamics. Now people treat Museveni as the giver. We came with Mr. Museveni, as you know, from the bush. When Museveni became president, he had never even built himself a grass-thatched hut. He didn't have any property to himself. He didn't have. He had no money. So all the money and whatever he has is because he has got power today. That money comes from those people who are kneeling. Understand? Before you don't complain that you have no jobs, you'll never get them unless you have. Because the country serves those who have power. That is, so, you know, we should not have just wishes. And I was telling you, people say, what is the difference between you and Museveni? I can, of course, talk about myself in the most flowery way. You will never understand what is in my mind. What guarantees good leadership, good governance, is not the goodness of the leader. It is the assertiveness, the knowledge and assertiveness of those he's serving. If you start, you know, wobbling around, they say, that's not what we elected you to do. Get out of here. Yes. You lead knowing that you have masters. If you have no master, can you know, check yourself? If you hire a domestic servant or some servant to serve you in any capacity, and you have no power over that person, will that person do any work? They won't work for you. So we have leaders who have no masters. We must first recover our people's minds from being subjects of the Queen of England to being masters and citizens of their country, Uganda. And citizenship is a responsibility. You have a responsibility. It's like you have a home. If you have a home, you cannot just say, I'm the head of this home without doing what heads of homes do. You can't. If you hear somebody knocking in the compound, you can't go under the bed. You must come out and say, who is in my compound? You know? That is your responsibility. So, that's where it starts. We must now become citizens and take our responsibilities seriously. Responsibilities that include employing people to work for you. Leaders are workers, are employees. Servants. So we must change. If you hire Besigye, you should hire a servant.
Yes.
And if he does not serve according to your satisfaction, you must know what to do. You can't start blaming the bad work. Like sometimes I hear Mr. Museveni do, he says the problem are my ministers. How can your ministers be the problem? Because you are the one who employed them. Sack them, don't tell us about who is the problem, you know? So, that's where it starts. First, recovering our attitudes. And knowing we have to regain our power. We have to regain control of our institutions. That we must have people's institutions. A people's police, people's courts, people's parliament. That's where it starts. So realization is the first thing. The second thing is now to organize. Because the reason people use guns and take over governments is that they are organized, highly organized. You choose a strategy to take and you organize to achieve it. So when we were in the bush, we would be very few. People would hide us. Our strength was not in our guns, it was not our guns protecting us, it was the people. The people would collect intelligence, know where the enemy is coming from. Would deceive them. Oh, they have gone there when you are somewhere. Even when they learned you are in somebody's forest or something, they came to them, they did not talk. That's how some people were killed. Like the famous Ruta Maguzi. If Ruta Maguzi had said Museveni is hiding below my heart, maybe the history would be different today. You know? I don't know that it would have been a good thing or a bad thing, but
one of them anyway.
People, but in order for that to happen, people have to be organized. Clearly? So when we were in the village, when we were in the bush, that's how we started organizing local councils. LOC 1. You organize in the village, this is the LOC 1. The LOC 1 knows if he has information where to go with it. You have to be organized because your power works when you are together, when you are coordinated. That is the second thing we need to do. Organize. Organize for action. You don't just organize, you organize to struggle. And in this case, don't be mistaken, the dictator will not go without a struggle. It won't happen. That's why even when we are going in elections, we are saying we are going to win elections by defiance, not just by going and, it would have to be by defiance, by organizing and struggling. And indeed, in the last election where that happened, we won convincingly because nobody would play. That's how Kasese, we won everything in Kasese. People remained at the centers where they were counting those votes for 3 days. They even came and shot and killed one of them. They pulled away the dead body, went and buried, the others remained. Until the results were fully announced. And they realized if they don't, they won't leave. You are not going to leave this place. Yes. You can only win by defiance. So the second thing is really to organize. And that is where everybody comes in. You must link up with others. And once you've linked up, you can assign each other all kinds of responsibilities in the struggle. And in the election, during the campaigns, that's why we talked about the power 10, organizing in tens in your local area, people you interact with most. Organize 10 people, know that if there is anything, all the 10 are aware. And then your 10 can coordinate with the next 10. And if 10-10 we are organized, if we want to go to the embassy here, it's just one SMS to the leader of the 10-10s, and you'll have 1,000 people in the morning without much effort. So organization for struggle. And lastly, you must take action, defiance actions. And sometimes people don't understand what defiance exactly entails. Defiance are those actions which you take, just like you have the warfare. It's a method of struggle which does not involve you using violence or instruments of violence. But it's a struggle like the struggle in the bush. It has dangers. People are going to be killed, people are going to be maimed, people are going to be imprisoned, just like happens in the violent struggle, except that in this case, it is not, you are not the one using violence, but the others are going to use violence on you. And that's why some people think that it doesn't work. But you see, it is so powerful, it can work. Even the person with violence fails to know where to put the violence. You've seen traders in Kampala close their shops. You know, they wake up, traders, because the government is squeezing everything from them, not putting anything back into their hands. First of all, they become conscious that we can fight this. If they were not conscious that they can do something about this, it would continue. Whoever fails goes back to the village alone. But together they can say, no, let's challenge this. Then they organize, and can organize in the whole country as traders, and say from Monday, no opening shops. In the whole country, from Monday, no opening shops, until this happens. Whom will the tear gas man tear gas? They close the shops. Yeah. And when traders close their shops, those tear gas people are looking funny, patrolling the closed shops. You know? And it took only 3 days, the government was on its knees. Because it can't even collect money to pay the policemen who are walking around. Because they collect that money from the shops. So defiance basically are actions of citizens who are not using violence to increase their power and to decrease the power of the dictator. And basically they include 3 types of actions. They have been broadly categorized. Different people can categorize them differently. But there are 3 main types of actions. One are actions of intervention, where you intervene in something, like demonstrations. You take active, steps in showing your dissatisfaction physically through marches, all forms of public demonstrations. But 2, and very effective, is non-cooperation, where you refuse to cooperate with the dictator. And somebody made the point here, I don't still remember who it was, that we are governed because we obey. You are the one who gives power to any leader, to anybody. If you don't give them the power, they won't have it. If I said, please stand up, and you just keep on looking at me, I have no power. But if I say stand up, and you all stand up like the preachers do in the church, you know, they have a lot of power. Now let us all stand up. Stand up. Now go down, you go. So obedience is the source of power we give to dictators. And you can withhold it. You can withhold it, and they will not be able to do it. So you can refuse to cooperate with the dictator, and they will not do anything. If we are organized and we all refuse to cooperate. You can imagine if we are organized and we all say, let's not take any more food to Kampala. We are villagers, no more food going to Kampala. From Monday, no more food. What will happen? You think he can last a week without any food going to Kampala? Can't. What kind of force? The other day, they dismissed health workers, he brought soldiers to work in their place. Ridiculous. You know? So, non-cooperation is a set of activities, very many varied activities, including labor strikes, people refusing to go and work, including student strikes, and all kinds of non-cooperation activities. And lastly, you also have what they is more aggressive, you know, where you have like raids of people, occupation. For example, here there is a man, one of those MPs, is bringing now a motion in Parliament to abolish age limit. And he's saying he's doing so because it is a popular. He's saying, you know, this is what people want. So if it is what people want, we can invite everybody to come and show that that is not what they want. We say, okay, now the members of Parliament are not clear about what the people want. So we are going to organize. On the day they are going to debate this thing, let us all come. Those who don't want. And occupy Parliament. Not just come, but come and occupy. Because at the end of the day, Parliament is a representative organ, isn't it? Yes. Yeah, if it is not representing us, well, we can come ourselves. So, these are defiant actions. And by the way, use of guns quite often fails. It's not that when you take up guns, you get power. And you know how many have failed in Uganda so far. But I can assure you that this non-violent struggle, well organized, can never fail. But more critically, the importance is not in so much the success of it as in the irreversibility of what you achieve. If we organize this time and we make sure that people who have guns realize that their guns are actually not the alpha and omega, that they have had guns but they have realized that power has gone away, then nobody will ever again use guns to dominate us. Guns will from then become subordinate to the civilian authority in Uganda. You can see, you know, in the United States where it reaches the superpower, that the commander-in-chief is civilian Barack Obama. The commander-in-chief must be a civilian. Must not be a serving soldier. You don't need to be a soldier at all to be the commander. Not at all. Because the command is of the people. But now you can see, whenever Museveni is in trouble, he puts on his uniform. So very soon we shall show him that that uniform is worthless in terms of controlling power in our country. So much for what we think we want to achieve. Now, in the last election, this is going to be where I will end. In the last election, as I have said, we said we are going to win by defiance. And I'd like to thank, I've already thanked you, I'd like to thank the people of Uganda as a whole. Because I have never seen anything, I have been in 4 elections, as you know. I have never seen anything like what we went through in 2016, 2015, 2016. The kind of energy and the involvement of our people. You know, it is the election that we have used the least amount of money, at least as a candidate. I have seen the newspapers saying that I spent 2.8 billion. Far from it. I, as a candidate, I spent a very maximum of about $1 billion shillings. 1 billion shillings from my pocket. I mean, from the pocket of the election. Mr. Museveni is said to have spent, you know, is it 800, whatever, billion. And even that is understated, because a lot of what they spend is billed as government expenditure, you know. In 2011, he spent 2 trillion in the election, which caused the inflation of 30% overnight, which is part of the reason the economy has collapsed now. So, in the last election, the public response was unbelievable. Everywhere we went, people were giving us money. Has never happened in the history of our country. In elections, people are always I think this is because that message of regaining people's power and being their responsibility to some extent has been appreciated. Because people are saying, here it is, let's fight. You know? Some situations were quite emotional indeed. I was in Padere, and after a rally, an old woman held my hand. She did not speak a language I could understand. She was speaking in Luo. I do not understand what she was saying. But she kept pulling me and I obeyed. She was an elderly lady indeed. When we reached her side, she untied, you know, the sash which is used to tie their gomezes. And inside there was another knot of cloth which she also untied. And pulled out a coin, and it was the only coin inside, of 500 shillings. And split the money. She spat on it, her saliva. I understand that's the blessing, and handed over the coin to me. You know? That tells you this lady is willing to part with everything she has because she wants some change. And so this was the case in the whole country. And that is why today Mr. Museveni can say, you know, he's the legal president or whatever he calls. Power needs separation in the country. in the Constitution. So we must have a constitutional review process. You know, I was, poking my friend, Honorable Betty Kanya. Because she has fought all these years on the principle that the main problem of our country is the concentration of power in the presidency, and that unless that is solved, the other things will not happen. So when I saw her putting on the military fatigues in Jangwazi as a new minister of that presidency, I was intrigued. No, we must now formally restructure the institutions, the power relations within the Constitution. So there must be a constitutional review that also addresses a number of things that are outstanding, which many people have kept on having issues with, including land. Land, if we are not careful, may even cause a bigger crisis even before we get to where we are going in terms of this process. Because now land is the only thing people are remaining with. And that's where they are hurting on the land. But there is now effort to also push them away and take the land. So we must deal with the Constitution. Two, and within the Constitution, of course, we shall create or remodel the institutions of state. So the second purpose of the transition is now to rebuild those institutions so that they reflect the will of the people. Rebuild the institutions. And lastly, amongst the cardinal elements must be the having of free and fair elections. And it is within that process, in that rebuilding of institutions, of course, one of the things that will also be happening apart from what is going on within the state is people reorganizing themselves in their parties, their associations, however they want to associate, so that then they can contest the elections and people choose whomever they want, and whoever is chosen becomes the leader and a servant. Will become a servant. So that is where we see things going. This non-partisan struggle is crystallizing now. As you may have indeed heard, there is a nucleus of what we now call the People's Cabinet, which is not fully formed, but which we are constituting. Again, a non-partisan kind of organ that can coordinate activities to conclude this struggle. And indeed, you heard that Mr. Paul here is part of that structure. These are still formative stages because after the election, there was indeed quite a bit of confusion, even within our own ranks, as to how we proceed, which we have been having conversations about so that we are on the same page, all of us. Because again, there are still some voices who are saying now, things have turned out the way they have stolen. This time they did not actually steal the election. It was a straightforward coup d'etat. This was not stealing of an election. But some people have been saying, well, now there is a president sworn in now, you know, maybe realistically we should start looking at the future and things like that. So there were these voices which were quite obviously not helping in a strong movement forward. But we are having conversations to smoothen all these things out so that we move in a concerted effort as one people indeed, as we say. And I have no doubt in my mind that if we all really, you know, pull together, the regime is finished. The regime of Mr. Museveni is finished. Even before we push, the economy has collapsed. Mr. Museveni has been very reckless in his expenditure on regime survival, not on development and productivity, but on regime survival. You know, having a huge security operation. In every village, there are intelligence people called the VISO, Village Internal Security Officers. You know, in every village, you have these structures all over the place. They are creating all kinds of, you know, administrative entities to give people jobs to rent their support. You know, renting support has been one of the big forms of expenditure in this administration. So we have a huge, monstrous government that does not produce anything. You know, look at Kampala. We have 2 ministers for Kampala, Kampala City. We have 2 ministers for nothing else but for Kampala. But Kampala itself has elected a city mayor who is the politically elected head of the city, the road mayor. Not only do we have the road mayor and the 2 ministers, we have somebody called the RCC, Resident Commissioner, Resident City Commissioner. That is like the RDC. He's also there in charge of Kampala. The RCC has 5 deputies. 5 deputy RCCs. All of them there within Kampala. All of them eating a lot of money while the city rots away. Because there is nothing to pay attention to the infrastructure, the real things that need fixing in the city. So this is the crisis of the dictatorship, the focus of resources on just survival. But he has been doing this knowing it's dangerous, because taking away money from services means you are going to have disgruntled people. He knows this, but he has been hoping, you know, that he was going to get the money of oil. He has been hoping he was going to get money of oil flowing, and now he can spend on all kinds of things that will bring back the people from the disgruntlement. Unfortunately for him, the oil has remained a mirage. He runs when he's about to reach it, it goes the other. So the crisis has been intensifying as he waits to get hands onto this oil. You know? This year we have a budget of 27 trillion Uganda shillings. What they hope to raise in domestic revenue is about 13. Yet we are no longer even credit worthy. So actually now, in Kampala there is a phenomenon called money lenders. Money lenders are sharks who lend you and extract the last ounce of blood from you. You know? Because they lend. Money sharks now are lending at 20% per. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Actually, expecting Mr. Besigye, Dr. Besigye. This is one of the minister, Mr. Paul Mutawi, for Foreign Affairs in the FDC cabinet. I would like him to introduce himself for the people.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. My name is Paul Mutawi, and I am the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs and Regional Government in Mr. Honorable Besigye's government.
Fantastic. So, what brings the FDC party to the UK today?
You all know what happened after the elections. Our president, People's President, Besigye, was incarcerated in Lozira prison for the last 3 months. He was discharged, or rather he was discharged on bail in July, and this is his first time to go out. The reason for this kind of meeting is to put to the world what has transpired since the stolen election, and we want to put the record straight in every perspective for the Ugandans and the general and the world to know exactly what's going to happen or what's happening in our country. Of course, everybody knows the economic impasse, the political impasse, which is pertaining to the country at the moment. And we need to see that we get a genuine national dialogue so that things can unlock for the benefit of all Ugandans and the betterment of our country.
Oh, fantastic. So I've had you touch on to for the betterment and the benefit of the country. How would you like the diaspora to help in regard to this, as you've come to the diaspora today and you've explained to us that he was incarcerated and the elections were stolen? So in that regard, how would the diaspora, the UK diaspora, help, and what do you seek from the UK diaspora?
The UK diaspora is very important to the national development of our country. We need the UK diaspora to engage government, to engage President Museveni, so that he is forced or he accepts or submits to a national dialogue, a genuine national dialogue, which will involve all stakeholders, so that we can see that the country can have a chance of going ahead. Otherwise, this total stalemate is not going to be beneficial to all of us. We need to open up, to have a genuine national dialogue, so that if this is addressed, we can all come to the table. We are all stakeholders. When we talk about genuine national dialogue, we don't mean Museveni meeting Besigye. We don't mean the movement meeting FDC. We are talking of all stakeholders, all parties in Uganda, interreligious organizations, women organizations, to come to the table and convene a genuine national dialogue, which should be moderated by an international personality with international guarantors, and of course one of our areas of dispute at the moment, to see that also the government of Museveni accepts a public independent audit of the previous presidential elections.
Fantastic, Mr. Paul. So how do you plan to engage the rural area of those lame men, I could call them, or without civic education? How do you plan to get them engaged more and to understand assertively what is going on?
We now know what we did, what FDC and our president and all other parliamentary aspirants did. When we go to the villages, we engaged them on what our manifesto entails. We involved a lot of people in the rural areas, and we've got also established different branches of FDC in the rural areas. So sensitizing them about politics is a challenge, but we have done our job. In fact, just recently, our president last weekend with the chairman Wazwa Berigwa were campaigning for the coming by-elections in Gulu. So I mean, we need to engage with the rural areas and the people, sensitize them about what politics is. And as a matter of fact, I think they are getting to grasp. That's why we won a lot of votes in the rural areas, because our message was well spelled out.
Fantastic. So in regards to that, you touched on stakeholders. Does the party have foreign stakeholders?
We've established FDC chapters in literally all the major cities in the world. Of course, London, be that we were originally a subject, or rather under the protection of Britain. It means FDC chapter, UK chapter is very, very, very important. But if you see, we are, as I've said, we are engaging, and also we've established many chapters, FDC chapters, all over the major cities. My job as Deputy Foreign Minister, I'm going to make sure that this engagement and the program of establishing more diaspora chapters for the FDC will continue. We are going to streamline the structures. And we think this is going to deliver a lot of knowledge and a lot of knowledge and popularity of our party.
So, as you've said, FDC has chapters in the UK. So, do you believe in foreign aid?
Foreign aid is at times becomes a prerequisite because of lack of genuine collections by our Uganda Revenue Authority. You take, for example, Kenya. They don't wait for foreign aid to finance their budget. We do that. We seek foreign aid to finance our budget because of the irregularities and the high corruption in the system at the moment. Structures are broken in Uganda. All of us know that. So I mean, if you see the manifesto, the FDC manifesto, where we have clearly told, or rather speculated, what we need to do to streamline our revenue income. You see that one of the major hurdles we are going to be facing, or we're facing, is corruption. Corruption should be totally eliminated for us to be able to finance our budget. But at the moment, we need foreign aid to finance the budget.
So you, Mr. Paul, what you're saying to me, you're suggestively saying that without foreign aid, Africa cannot survive?
I've just given an example and said Kenya, at the moment, does not wait for foreign aid to finance its budget. They streamline their revenue income to the extent that they don't need foreign aid to run their budget. Uganda, per se, needs foreign aid at the moment to finance its budget. All I'm saying, we must streamline our structures, eliminate the rampant corruption in the country for us to be able to move to a situation where we don't need foreign aid to run our budget. I can see this coming. If FDC comes to power, we shall eliminate rampant corruption. We shall streamline structures to the extent that we'll be able to collect, the tax base will be enlarged, and we'll be able to collect just as Kenya does, so as to eliminate foreign aid support to run the country.
Fantastic. That's a huge responsibility and a huge support system that you need. As is suggested that Uganda has corruption, it needs to be limited by, the corruption needs to be limited. Now, what are the plans from the FDC party in order to limit this corruption? Besides, we've seen a few things that you've done as foreigners. We look at it over the television, but having you here realistically, you can tell us what are the plans to limit corruptions.
The first area would be to eliminate nepotism. Nepotism, whereby you allow people you give people jobs because of their relation to government or to the president, that is already a set, a situation which creates a lot of corruption. We will eliminate nepotism. We will give jobs to people on merit, and we will also give people, or rather companies, to do jobs or to get government contracts on merit. All these kind of things will eliminate corruption. The other thing is we shall create structures whereby everything does not have to be set in State House. President Besigye's government will see that structures are not take their place. Structures are set up, systems are set up such that you don't have to do or to solve a land dispute in State House. This should be settled according to the different areas of management. It shouldn't be a one-man show as it is at the moment.
Fantastic, fantastic. You being the Minister of Foreign Affairs and knowing what's going on in what is needed in Uganda and so forth. In terms of the youth, how would you like to get the youths in the diaspora to get engaged into the system and into Uganda and helping back their country to rejuvenate the system?
The youth actually compose of about 70 to 80% of the population at the moment in Uganda. Unemployment is to the top of 85%. If you see these statistics, they definitely show that there is an immediate need for the youth to be looked at. I can see that the youth are a foundation of any development of any country. Uganda's youth population is high, and we need to actually give it its own ministry so that a lot of things can be set. We can see us setting up a ministry of the youth, not under any other ministry, but an elaborate ministry of the youth to look at all these challenges being faced by the youth. That is one area we are looking at.
That is really great. I'm going to play devil's advocate here. One might say that, you politicians, you promise a lot of stuff. And when you get into power, it's all different scripture. It's all totally different from what you said. How can you give us this actual validation that, the FDC party is actually for the people? Because the people have supported the FDC party, and it seems like they have passion for the FDC party. But how are you implementing what you're saying? Do you really need to be in power? Because the power is within the people. You don't need to be in parliament to implement what you're saying. One must say you might start doing it on the ground.
Thanks very much. There's a saying, charity begins at home. If you see all the parties, it's only FDC which has had popular democratic contestation of power from the presidential election, prospective presidential candidates. There was a very strong, stringent, democratic performance by presidential candidate Kizza Besigye and our President General Muntu, where President Besigye won. It was elaborate and publicly seen by everybody that it was democratic. We also went to the delegates conference a few years ago, and again you saw the General Secretary Nandala Mafabi going through against all the other parties. So in other words, the other candidates. So in other words, as I've said, charity begins at home. FDC has shown its independence or its liking of the democratic structures within the party, which entails that if we can do it within our own party, it will be transformed to the national national stage. I think we are very, very pro-democracy, and also with the meager resources which the FDC has compared to the government movement of Museveni, we've seen that at least the little we have is well structured to finance the various party activities, which are done. Everything is set in our FDC headquarters in Najjanankumbi. It's there to see. We've got our own printing press. We have an administration center. I mean, all these show that FDC is serious about democracy, about administration. As I've said, I repeat myself, charity begins at home. So if our party and FDC party is organized as it is, it will transform to the national stage.
All right, all right. So may I ask, last but not least, how is all this funded?
Individuals, parliamentarians, FD's parliamentarians, and you've seen our president Besigye going around on tour where when campaigning, people are giving him money, people are giving him hard stuff, food and everything. That is the nature. That again depicts the nature of our income. It's done by individuals, and individuals do it by their own liking. We are not forcing anybody to give us money, but that is how our structures are set up, individually by private people and private companies giving what they feel is a necessity.
Sources indicate, my sources indicate that this party has been funded by the Labour Party here. Is that true?
Those are issues which should be addressed by our general secretary. My job is to interface with the diaspora and foreign countries about funding, and anything administrative in the party is addressed by the general secretary. I can't answer that.
Thank you. On a lighter note, what do you do to relax?
I jog. I enjoy jogging every morning. 6 o'clock I wake up in the morning, I jog, and I enjoy the sauna. I enjoy talking politics, relaxed politics as you've done. You've given me a very interesting interview. I thank you for the relaxed atmosphere you've given me. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. Thanks for watching Power Chat.